In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I make the most awesome beef, steak and potato casserole with an optional cheesy top, and also you can do this with ground beef instead of beef steak. G'day everybody and welcome to my Aussie gardening kitchen. If it's your first time here, my name's Darren, but please call me Daz. I'm a long retired chef here in Australia and I love to grow my own fruit and veggies in my orchard and my garden beds outside, bring them in, preserve them in different ways, cook them in different ways and share those videos with you. If you think that's something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing and ticking the notifications and joining me here on my journey. I'm so excited to be sharing this recipe with you today. It's my own recipe that I've developed for my family. It's got beef, a slow cooked beef with a rich gravy. There's some vegetables in there. We've got a cheesy top for the kids, layers of potatoes inside. Anyway, let's stop talking about it and let's get on and actually make it. I've got a stewing beef here. Something with a little bit of gristle to it and a little bit of fat, all flavour and stuff that's going to break down and just add flavour to the end dish. Just popping in a little bit of flour. That's going to coat the beef and give it a nice coating when I fry it. And also I want a bit of flour in there to help thicken the gravy. Bit of pepper to taste and a little bit of salt to taste. Giving it a good mix around, making sure I get all the surfaces coated. That'll do. First thing you want to do is get the pot really hot, get oil in there, drop the mushrooms in and start sauteing the mushrooms. Only for about a minute or so. You just want to get a bit of colour and flavour. You don't want them to go soggy and break them down at all. I forgot to put the mushrooms in first. What can I say? So do your mushrooms first, get them out once they're coloured. Don't get them too soggy and break them down. Just colour them, get some flavour happening and get them out. Oh, they smell good. I've got the pot on the highest flame setting, heating up nicely. Now it's time for a splash of olive oil. It's about 2 tablespoons worth. As I always do, move it around the pot just to get it nice and hot. So I'm putting in about half of the beef that I mixed with the flour. I'm only going half and half because I don't want to overload the pot and just have it all boil. And with a pair of tongs, I'll get in there and separate it and give it all a chance to brown on all the surfaces. Don't stress if you see all those brown bits in there sticking. Get in there and scrape them with your spoon. That way you're going to get extra flavour off the bottom of the pot and it's extra flavour for the end dish. Just scraping, getting those flavours up, stopping them from burning. Get those out and onto a plate. About another tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. Do that before you put the next lot of beef in. Remembering, in between turning, to scrape the pot and get all those flavours off the bottom, stopping it from burning and getting all that flavour up into the mix. Greg from Greg's Kitchen, the American channel, not the Australian channel, has invited me back for my second year to Marching In With Casseroles 2023. So do scroll down and check it out after this video. So I've just taken that second lot of beef out, put it on the plate, put that aside. So now that the mushrooms and the beef are done, in the correct order, about a tablespoon of olive oil, and in go the diced onions. Onions have been sweating for a good minute now, so it's time to add the other veggies. The veggies have been in there for about 4 to 5 minutes, cooking nicely, drawing out those flavours, which is really good. So in here, I'm going to put 6 cloves of garlic, about half a dozen tiny bay leaves, and about a teaspoon of thyme. Of course, the garlic and thyme are from my garden. As always, with garlic, don't let it burn, it'll go bitter. So make sure you keep on stirring, scraping the bottom, moving it around and keeping the flavours moving and nothing sticking on the bottom. And in goes half a teaspoon of salt, and that's more than enough salt now because we're going to be adding stock, and that's going to be salty. So just leave it at that, and we'll check the seasoning later. Pepper to taste. I'd say no more than 1/8 of a teaspoon. That's more than enough. To this, I'm adding 1/4 cup of flour. That flour is basically going to cook down, and when all the liquids go in, it's going to help make a nice thick gravy. Quickly put in 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Back of the spoon to blend it, and then get it all stirred in. Now this is still on the high flame, so you've got to be very quick to work it all in. Now you'll be able to see on the bottom, you're starting to get a coating on the bottom of the pot. Don't let that burn. So I'm pushing it as far as I can, as always, to get flavour. Alright, so now that's all cooked in, blended well. I've got a cup of wine. Get the wine in there. Watch out for the steam when you put your hand in. Give it all a good mix and start scraping the bottom straight away to get that flavour off the bottom. Scrape the sides as well. At this point you can turn the flame down to about a 3/4 flame. Put in the red wine vinegar. Scraping those sides and the bottom. Don't let it burn. The beef goes back in. Stirring and scraping the bottom and the sides. Now the beef stock. That's just the supermarket beef stock powder that I add to hot water. It's fine, does its job. You don't have to use red wine. I like to use it because of the flavour that it gives, and it's a great combination, especially with red meat. But by all means, use more beef stock or tomato juice. That works well in a recipe like this as well, because it's a tomatoey sort of saucy mix, and again, it works well with the beef. So now turn the temperature down to about 1/4 heat and let that simmer slowly without the lid so it can evaporate some of the liquid. And that'll probably go for about 15-20 minutes. I'll see how it goes. Just remember to stir every 3 or 4 minutes, scraping the bottom and the sides just so you don't get any sticking and burning. During this time, as it's simmering, prep your potatoes. Get the potatoes ready, all sliced and ready to go. I've peeled the potatoes, and I'm now going to slice them long ways on the mandolin. That way I can layer them in the beef casserole like a lasagna sheet. So yeah, let's get to it. While I'm slicing the potatoes, I pop them into water just to keep them from going brown. Then when I'm about to layer them and put them in the casserole dish, I'll pat them down on a nice tea towel just to stop excess water from going into the dish and making it all watery. If you find that this is a bit too runny when you're ready to add it to the casserole, by all means, grab a little bit of gravy powder and mix gravy powder in with some water and add it and thicken it that way, as if you're thickening it with, say, a corn flour or a cornstarch. Or if you know how to make a roux or a beurre marnie, get the roux, beurre marnie, and get it cooking on the side. Add it little bits at a time, crumbling it in and stirring it, and away you go. So mine took about 20 minutes to get to this stage. I've turned it off. Now what's happening is that it's slightly thickening as it cools down. That's great. It's going to be easy to work with when I'm actually layering it in the casserole dish. Really good stuff. Remember those mushrooms? Haven't forgotten about them. I'll drop them into the casserole now that it's turned off and give it a good mix. There's liquid from the mushrooms, so that's going to go in as flavour, but not enough liquid to thin it down too much at all. Time to assemble. Pop a layer down on the bottom and get a nice thin layer sitting on the bottom with a lot of the chunks and a little less of the gravy, because the gravy is actually going to seep down over the cooking process. So it's fine if you don't get that much gravy down the bottom. It's going to fill up for sure. Layer the potatoes. I try not to double them up too much because I want them to cook. So if you can, actually spread them out so they're not doubling up too much, and they're going to cook a lot better like this than like that. More of that meat mix on top. Don't stress if you've got tiny gaps, because that liquid is going to thin and spread out as it heats up. So just layer away and you'll be right. When you think you're ready to assemble everything, just get 2 tablespoons of butter and put it into a little pot and get that melted. You're going to brush that on at the very end with the top layer of potato. Okay, looking good. Time to brush it down with butter and get it in the oven. If you've got a lid, pop a lid on it. Otherwise, get some foil and put some foil on, but make sure the aluminium foil doesn't touch anything. Have it sitting up if you can. It's been 1 hour and 10 minutes in the oven, so now I'm going to take the foil off the top. A lot of liquids come to the top, but that's fine. So what we do now is pop this back into the oven, and we're going to cook this off a little bit more before we go adding cheese to the top. Oh, and with no foil on the top. Half an hour later, and it's ready to go out of the oven. Now you can either leave it like this and serve it like this, or add cheese. I'm adding cheese because the kids love it with cheese, so let's do that. Cheese is on, back in the oven. I wouldn't normally have cheese with a beef and mushroom, like bourguignon type, red wine type meal with potatoes, but the kids like it, and I tell you what, that crusty top's pretty cool with the cheese. I won't say no to that. It's now the next day, and it's obviously stone cold because it's been in the fridge, but I wanted to show you this cheesy layer. Excuse the fingers. Just check out how it sticks to the potato on top, and look at that. You've got a nice potato cheesy crust that sits on top. Gotta love it. This recipe does have a very long cooking time, but it's absolutely worth it. While you're waiting for those potatoes to cook, all the other flavours are just mixing in well together and just becoming richer and more flavoursome, and oh boy, it's so good. The cheese topping is a totally optional extra, so please don't feel like you have to do it. You can make it without the cheese. Also, don't forget that you can replace the beef with ground beef, and it's obviously going to cook a lot quicker, but you have to remember that you've got those potatoes in there, the raw potatoes, and they will take some time to cook. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video today. And if you can, please check out the other videos in the collaboration. There's been a lot of hard work going into it. And if you don't mind, check out this video when you get a chance. It's another awesome video of mine. Thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye for now.